Mordechai Becher. Welcome to the Gateway's Parsha vlog. This week's Parsha is Acharei Mot, which refers to after the death of the sons of Aaron. In the Parsha, we find the prohibition against the consumption of blood, which, as you probably know, is a biblical prohibition. And Jewish people, before we actually eat meat, all meat has to be rinsed to get rid of the surface blood, soaked to soften it, salted in order to exude the blood, and afterwards rinsed again to get rid of the blood that has been exuded on the surface. Liver, which is full of blood, it has to be grilled on a flame, open flame, before it is eaten. And we are very strict about not eating blood, getting as much blood of the meat out as we can. In fact, the prohibition is repeated a number of times in the Torah 5. Altogether, the prohibition against eating blood. Maimonides tells us that the basic idea behind it is not to imitate the pagans. Apparently the pagans had customs of drinking blood, and we don't imitate them. That's one possibility. Nachmanides says that inasmuch as the consumption of meat was, so to speak, a concession to the human after our drop in spirituality following the flood, and the fact that we saved the animals, they live in our merit, so now we're allowed to eat them, as Nachmanides points out. He says, but it's a little bit of the not eating blood is saying don't go so far. In other words, you don't have to actually consume the very lifeblood of the animal. It's enough that you should consume the flesh of the animal. Others say the idea behind it is an aesthetic sensitivity, to maintain a sense of dignity, not to actually have to suck out everything you can from the animal, eat the meat, and that's it, and there's no need to go any further than that. The Mishnah gives an interesting perspective. The Mishnah says, why does the Torah need to prohibit it so many times? And the truth of the matter is most people don't have a strong desire for blood, at least I hope not. So why prohibit it? So it's interesting, the Mishnah tells us, at the end of Makot, that the idea is that when God makes it prohibited, and then it actually becomes tempting. Once something is prohibited, the grass on the other side is always greener, or as they say, stolen waters are sweet. And so there's a temptation now that it's prohibited. So on the contrary, now that we refrain from, excuse me, now that we refrain from having the blood, and because it's prohibited, and now we refrain from it, we actually are rewarded for not doing something which otherwise would be prohibited. So those are some of the ideas behind the prohibition against blood, and that's the Parsha vlog for this week. God willing, it is Pesach almost, so we will see you